Welcome to Quemby Podcast. Get ready for an exciting journey as we explore the latest and greatest in innovative technologies, open source tools, and visionary insights. We'll take you on a captivating adventure as we uncover stories, discuss ideas, and connect with leaders changing the game and shaping our digital future.
All right, hello everyone, welcome back. We're in another episode. I'm excited, you can tell. I'm super excited. The reason why I'm excited because we're gonna combine a lot of stuff today. We're gonna make something very interesting. It's gonna be a really good episode. I bet that for sure. But before we start, of course, the reason why you come to this episode, to this podcast, is because you want to know from the people that actually are doing it, the one that does community, technology, business, and it's basically all over the place making things happen. And that's the people that I bring here to this podcast. And today, of course, I'm getting one of my friends, Jiho, and I want to tell an anecdote about Jiho, how we met. So interesting, it only took one text message. I was talking to other friends that I have actually thought that was here in the episode before, and we were talking about Boca Code and how much I love it, how much I have a lot of admiration for all the educators and facilitators that work at Boca Code. And he told me, like, you need to meet you. And I was like, let's do it. He just took one text message, and right away we were at a coffee shop that it was supposed to be a 30-minute minute. And we end up like an hour or something or two, just talking, nerding a little bit. But it was one of the best conversations that I ever had. And since then, we've been having those conversations and talking and exchanging ideas. I love the way that he talks about AI, which is the topic of today. And that's why I brought him here, because I want him to share with us his thoughts about AI. And today is about Gen AI, curators versus creator, what that even means, what's going to be the future of that technology, because we all think that there's something out there, but we really don't know. So we're looking for Jiho to give us some idea of what he thinks is coming out. But before we start in the topic, Jiho, welcome. Please introduce yourself so everyone knows you.
Thank you, Angel. Really glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, the coffee shop that we had, the talk in Delray was really fun. As you said, it was meant to be a half an hour, which turned into like even more than that. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you very much, Angel.
Of course. And there's something that I'm very interested, because you have a great background. So I know that we're gonna be talking about your background across the episode, but if you had to like summarize it, like, because I know that you've done a lot, can you summarize like what you've done so far?
Yeah, be happy to. So on a quick shell, I started out as all the things. I went to an art school, studied ceramics, and then from there went into the creative field in the early days of the .com boom. And then I learned back then PHP, and it was like amazing, beyond static HTML. And then I got into project management, and then eventually came to Florida. I worked in Baltimore, then came to Florida, and been enjoying learning more and more about this technology. And now, like all of us, we're really having fun with so much with AI, and which have really changed the paradigm and moving forward of all our daily lives. So that's where I'm at right now.
No, and that's awesome, because one of the things that I really like about you is that, and maybe this is something that I would like to get your thoughts on and see for those people that are maybe in the same place, because everyone thinks, oh, if you are going to be in technology, you have to be the math man, and hey, only for technology you have to have in this career. But you basically changed that paradigm. Like, you don't come from technology, is called a pure technology background. You come from an artist, and something that I am a witness of is that you apply that artistic mentality into everything that you do. So can you expand a little bit more on that, because I think that's pretty interesting.
I'd be happy to. So oftentimes when I talk about like careers and what people want to do to life, there is a thought of, as you said, like a linear progression. But how I think about it is more of a transferable skills. And I think from node to node, from career to career, you can always transfer a skill. So I'll give you one example. So when I did ceramics, like for instance, looking at this, no, better yet, let me pick up this duck by Todd Albert. In ceramic, we have to think about not as an object two-dimensionally, but all looking around, turn around, see from multiple angles. So that skill set that I learned from ceramics, when I was learning MySQL database, rather than looking at the database from a two-dimensional, like a spreadsheet, I start thinking in my head more like an object, spinning this database into multiple axes. So that skill set has really helped me understand database and think in database in a little more dynamic way back then. And then also to add one more thing, as an artist too, like I love reading histories and books and describing how a painting looked like. And now with AI, that skill set has played such a role in prompt engineering, because of all these years of vocabulary and describing things, I'm able to do that using AI tools. So a lot of tools that we learn can be transferable to different areas. So don't be afraid. Really, we can do it. You can do this too. And I really believe in everyone. Yes.
And I agree, man, because that's amazing, the way that you just describe like how to look into a database beyond a two-dimensional matrix. Like, oh, that's very cool. I never thought about that, by the way. It's like, that's true. That's the way that you should do it. And I know that we all want to get into the AI part, but another thing that I want to highlight, which is interesting, is like you were an educator, and I like to say facilitator, because I always say, and I told Todd in our previous meeting, that the cool thing about Boca Code is that you guys were basically preparing real software engineers. It was not just a boot camp. They were not just learning to code; it was learning to think. And I think one of the way that you approach that, and we were having some conversation before, I would love to get the people to know your approach, because I think it's a unique way to prepare people that are in a short period of time to learn so much, and how to unlock that brain and say, hey, now you're solving problems. Can you expand on that?
Of course. So during the time at Boca Code, Todd Albert really cultivated really interesting culture, which I really gravitated well. Oftentimes in the traditional education, they give us skill sets to learn. And then going back to what Angel has talked about, my artist, I'll talk about it briefly. So when I went to an art school, I would learn how to be a great technician in ceramics, but we didn't learn how to use that in business, because at the end we have to merge creativity and business too. So at Boca Code back then, what we did was not only teach them the software engineering skills, but also how to apply them. As Angel, as you said, the mindset is such an important thing, because learning a new skill set, anyone can learn a new skill set. The way to transform one's life is to how to use the skill set and apply them. But not only as an applying to a company where you want to work, or you're a company you want to establish yourself, but what does this mean to me? As in, why am I doing all this? Why? If you answer that question, anything is really, not only is it possible, but it's feasible. So that's one of the things that at Boca Code that we really harnessed, was the idea that you can do this. You are here for a reason, and we want to give you the skill set, and we want you to match your value and your reason to the skill set, so you can have the life that you want and change your life and the people around you and the community eventually. So that was the belief that you are here for a reason, that this is a purpose.
Wow. I mean, that was perfect, because all these couple of questions that I'm asking is setting us for the topic that we want to cover today. And here's the reason why. You started as an artist, right? So you went into the .com bubble and say, hey, I need to figure this out. I want to get into this, and you nailed it. You made it happen. But that was not just the only challenge. You probably faced so many challenges. So that mindset that you just described that you were transferring to your students is the same mindset that you've been applying to yourself all this time, to the point that now you are in the AI era. And something that I love that you're doing, I believe the name, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is Lomenkai, which is you call it. I don't know. One time you told me that that's your your hobby involving AI, but you're doing a lot. And I'm like, that's not a hobby anymore. That's basically something that you literally just spending a lot of time, because I follow your videos, and you started doing a lot of video transition videos applying AI, but then you jump into applying AI to make productivity stuff, and I went to your talk, and then you basically teach us how to build a whole AI system basically in less than an hour using multiple tools. So I would love for you to unpack that. And give me let's unpack it first, and then we go into the details.
You got it. Let's do it. So regarding that, so when I was some of the topics that Angel was talking about is that how I really view AI is not this. It's an amazing tool set, and I'll give you one metaphor. I love to cook, and in our kitchen we have multiple apparatus, and within this apparatus I have multiple knives, and I have a butcher's knife, a cutting knife, all these different knives. And with that, I'm able to cook my meal, make a culinary art. I view AI the same way. Why just use one LLM? Use multiple LLMs. Use multiple tool sets and applications. So as we'll talk about it down the road, I like using the word curator, because and then we'll talk about creation versus curation. But I believe with AI, one of the things that will really help us would be understanding how to curate things. I'll give you one example. If you look at an iPhone, I love iPhones. Just because I've been using Apple IIc since I was a kid. But if you look at an iPhone, what did Apple invent in an iPhone? They really put technologies that other people have built, they put it together, they curated a product. So imagine that now with the power of AI, we can do the same kind of thing, where the mind and the mindset is the blueprint. You make the blueprint in your head, and how to put things together, that's something that we and other people will teach, but it really starts from one's mind. Then you put it together, and then voila.
Okay, interesting. So you brought it up. So now we had to get into
okay,
why is that different between curate and create? What that really means?
So this is it's interesting. As an artist, creation is something that's been part of all my life. Painting and drawing, creating something unique and new. That's what creation is. And of course, even in the process of creation, we look at, I remember when I was an artist, still am, I looked at a lot of art books, looking at Picasso or Basquiat, getting some influences, seeing what they've done. And they've also looked at different art from history too. And then we created it. Now it's AI, because AI is based on us. AI is based on humanity. It really is. We taught AI what we know, what we have accumulated all these years. And I think we're now at a stage where, rather than focusing on just making things, we can harness the power of AI, let AI do all the heavy lifting for us, and then we put together, just like Apple did with the iPhone. They put together all these technologies, they created a product. And now with AI, let's say that, for instance, someone who had a hard time writing, now you can utilize AI to really overcome that aspect. Or let's say someone who always wanted to draw a picture but never could for whatever XYZ reason. Now, if you have that idea, you can learn how to prompt, you can generate an image. So that's what I believe what a curation is. is putting together things that already exist and repackaging it and remaking it into something that you've never done before. And I think that will give the next evolution of what creation is. And also, if I might add one more thing, look at music. Music is something that, back in the early days, people were making music, but in the 80s, people got this vinyl and they start mixing music of other people's music. So are they creator or curator? Who knows? But I really do love DJ sound. That's all.
No, and that's an interesting perspective, and I really, I mean, in my opinion, of course, I cannot speak for the rest of the world. I can speak only for Angel Ramirez, and I like the way that you're approaching that, because it's true. Sometimes the limitation could be, for example, I love music, right? But I don't know how to play guitar, and I would love to, and I might take some time and I will learn it. But now with AI, I could maybe those sounds or ideas that I have in my head bring into life. But my question would be, and this is also based on a conversation that I had with another dear friend. She is an artist as well, and one of her questions, which also drive me as a question, and maybe you as an artist can give me your opinion about this, is that then how can we define, would that be something, can we call it original, even if we are using a tool to generate it, or it will be there some line that we need to understand where original work come in versus non-original? Maybe I don't know if you have an opinion about that.
That's a very good question, and then that's a prevailing question as well too. Is it original? I think the answer is yes, because when I think about AI or Gen AI, I really think about other aspects in our life. So let's think about cooking. I mean, I didn't create the knife. Some other company or people create the knife. I didn't grow the plant or let's say the cucumber or the peppers. All I sincerely did was I got these elements. I used these tools to process these elements, and then I put them into another fusion state, as baking, cooking, whatever have you. And then at the end, I created my piece. Is this original piece? I would say yes. But all the other things, the peppers, cucumbers, I didn't grow it. I didn't make the knife. I didn't make the cutting board. All these tools what someone else created. So if you're to use that kind of metaphor in AI, yes, the AI, the LLM was taught by artists and previous artists. We all, I recognize some. There is a sensitivity and also appreciation that we need to consider. But if you were to think about this, approaching this not from an individual point of view, but as a whole humanity, as a species, we are all contributors to this culture. I think what I create might be original. Put it back into the LLM, maybe it'll learn it, maybe someone else creates something new. It will perpetually be original, slightly different, but it will be part of a creative curation process. That's how I think about this.
Wow. No, I love that. That's pretty interesting, because I mean, every time that I talk to you, you blow my mind, man. It's because the thing is, what I'm understanding is, so right now, what tools like AI are doing exactly like all the tools that we have before. It's just that our imagination always was limited maybe by what we have around us to make it, right? So to your point, I'm a chef. I can basically cook whatever I want, but if I don't have a knife or whatever, I will be limited by the tool, but not by my imagination. I will still have that in my mind. I want to do something like this. Same thing happening in all the areas. But Gen AI, what it's doing is basically now taking the limitation of tool, and now it's just all about your imagination. If you can imagine a dragon with 20 eyes and 20 wings, well, it's in your imagination, so it's still your original work. It's just that you use a tool to make it happen.
Correct.
Am I
Yes.
that?
No, that's exactly it. I mean, even look at guacamole. What is a guacamole? Guacamole, you put you put avocado and other vegetables. You put it into pour a mortar and pestle and you mash it together and you have a guacamole. And that's something that we all enjoy. I think when it comes to Gen AI pieces too, when it comes to writing, music, art, video, it is really all about what's in one's head, able to describe that idea, put into a machine, would the machine generate exactly what you're looking for? No, which is another topic, but it does give you, it did all these heavy work. You're like, well, that's not exactly what I thought, but that is a very interesting direction. What? Let me run with this. And then you go into another rabbit hole. You build something else, you add some prompts. Later on, you might create something that's completely different from what you imagined, but you might connect with it in an emotional state. That is what I intended to be. Not exactly how I imagined it, but wow, this is very different. I never thought about it. Let's push this.
So you're embedding yourself into the AI world, basically. So you're letting also that to drive some of the stuff that you do, and I think that is also reflected on what you do in your Lumen Kai hobby. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, how are you testing using all these tools? How are you playing with them? What are you doing?
I'd be happy to. So when it comes to, Lumen Kai is a couple of words combined. Lumen, like the light, K, Korean, and AI, so it's Lumen Kai. And I use that platform to play with the AI. And allow me to describe what play is. I was talking to someone about this yesterday, that I've noticed that when you're trying to teach new skill sets, and you say this is a new skill set, it's really hard to learn, because skill sets is sometimes associated with our identity, our ego, how our revenue generations, how we go about our day. So let's say we want to up your skill set, so there might be some resistance. So all right, well, let's put the same idea, or repackage it, recurate it into play. If you look at animals, they learn survival instincts and survival techniques through play. I saw that with my cats, with my dog. That's how they learn. So let's learn that. Then let's utilize that play. With Lumen Kai, what I'm doing is I am playing with a lot of AI models that's out. Like right now, I am just playing with not only some of the AI models as I used to use, but some of the newer ones. And what I'm doing is making an art piece using AI tools. But through this, I am also noticing how AIs are generating images, sound, and music. It's not giving me exactly what I'm looking for, but it's kind of giving me some guidelines of some different directions. And number two, through play, I'm able to learn how things could be put together at the end. So that's what Lumen Kai is. At the end, what is my goal? The goal is to learn new skill sets and then bring this into my business, into the company I'm working at, or give back to the community, like an open source, where I learn new things and I teach to someone else, because in my path, there are people who helped me with nothing to gain and irrevocably changed my life and the people around me. And there's some people who I can't pay back, so this is my way of paying back. Is as I'm playing, I learn new things, and I want to share. I learn what I learned, how to do it with other people. So that's what Lumen Kai is.
And I'm a witness of that, because in your talk that I was there, and also another thing that blew my mind is like, well, so the whole idea was to create a video, then match it with sound. But the interesting part, at least to me, was not about like what was the actual final result, but you were you were not caring about too much about the final result, but about the journey, how all these tools were playing together. I love the fact that you mentioned multiple times, like it's just good enough what we're looking for. And I really would like for you to like explain that concept of how you learn using that mentality. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be good enough. And why is that important while doing that learning? Because I think you emphasize on that very well, and it could be a great thing for other people to learn as well.
So good enough is a philosophy. It's been around by psychologists, and they talk about it in philosophy as well. How I took good enough is that I think Bruce Lee once said that he's more. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he's more scared of a man who's done a one punch 10,000 times versus someone who knows 10,000 different types of punches. What that shows is a dedication and commitment. Mm-hmm. And what good enough is that it's not just doing some things half-assed. The idea of good enough is do it multiple times as fast as you can. And as each iteration, now of course you can't just do it without thinking about it, then you become a machine stuck in a loop. But like you do it once, how can I do this better? Let me try it again, do it again. How can I make this better? In a small, bliss amount of time, one is able to do so many things and do multiple iterations quickly, versus you're trying to make one product perfect. Yes, that product is perfect, but later on, the same amount of time you made one thing versus the same amount of time you made maybe 10 different things. And I'll give you one example about this. Like there's been times where I will code when I was developing a lot of apps and codes, like I'll spend time making this code perfect, like a lot, just everything. By then, new technology is already out. I'm like, my God, I wasted all these time making this perfectly nice. And then eventually I start to adapt the good enough mentality. And I've learned how fast I'm learning too. So if you look at my YouTube channel in Lumenkai, you'll find that each piece, there's always an error. And I know where they are. There's always a small little error. I think the sound goes, or the sound, the music just doesn't align up. I leave them there because I learn from them. And then, all right, well, let me learn it again, do something else. That's what good enough is. Do multiple iterations in a short time as fast as you can, and let go of one's ego of being perfect. It's okay if it's not perfect, because we're not perfect as a human being, but the idea of perfection is something to strive for.
Awesome. And following up that thought, how can you keep up testing so many tools? Because in that talk it was about like 7 or 10. I lost count. I was basically trying to follow up. It's like, no, that's so many tools. Like how you can keep up testing so many tools? Is that because you applying this mentality of like, I just want to test, I don't care about how many are, or how would that work on this setup?
Well, you're right. Right now there are so many tools out there. There's so many different things. One of the best ways to do it, I found for myself, is to just focus on few things. Like I'll share one life experience that I had. I love to travel, and at one point in my life I wanted to travel to all the places in the world. Later on, as I got older, I recognized that I couldn't do it. So I started to do this thing where if of a million places I want to go, what's the top 5 places I want to visit? And I have a certain list. AI tools are the same thing. There's so many tools out there. Just pick a few and then just really devote and commit to those few. Simply just iterate just these few tools over and over again. So what you saw was that principle is that I can't do everything. That's impossible. It will just be too spread out. So I pick a few tools that I like. I read about them, did some research. All right, and then I'm gonna push these tools to its limit. And I think once someone asked me, how do you get all these crazy images? Well, you have crazy prompts. None of my prompts are logical. They're very crazy. But what seems like chaos is an organized way of, there's a whole Excel sheet that I've done of trying different prompts out over time. And I noticed that mixing, matching different things, you get different results. So number one, good enough, as we talked about, but just limit the palettes you want to use. And from there, just focus on these things. Once you feel like you've mastered them, or you got some good enough technique, then move on to the next palette. And then later on, next palette. And then see palette A, palette B, palette C. Which one do you like from palette A, palette, and then choose one again? Palette D is the best one. That's how you, and if you have fun with it, you can spend all night doing this. Well, I can.
No, I'm sure you do. But actually, something that I'm getting out of what you're explaining and the talk is that sometimes we're waiting for that perfect AI tool, and that's where I definitely think your philosophy, the one that you're using, applying all these tools, makes total sense to me, because it won't be a perfect AI tool. There won't be. I mean, everyone think, no, ChatGPT can do everything. Yeah, but there's a lot of like stuff in there that sometimes you don't even get what you want. But when you're trying those tools and you commit and you iterate through them, like you said, you might not get the perfect result, but you might get something that takes you closer to what you're looking for. Am I right with that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's absolutely right. One of the things that I do besides on LumenKai is on my GitHub, you will see some of my latest repo is I write on AI assisted programming. So what I'm doing now is, rather than how I used to even teach at the code, typing everything, now I'm doing AI assisted or AI augmented programming, where I am typing into the AI or talking sometimes to my AI what I want, and it gives me some ideas and codes, and I start coding with the AI. What the whole idea about all these things is that right now, this is an exciting time with so much AI tools out there and the advancements of AI. I mean, it's just fun. It really is. I mean, the changes, what's now in July 31st wasn't around last year, 1 year ago, or even around 6 months ago. So if we were to embark on just having fun, but not just having fun mindlessly, but with great intention and self-declaration, I'm having fun, but there is a goal to it. There is an end goal. With that, you can just have some fun, trying different tools out, and see what you can create. And when it comes to even, like say, coding, one of the things I do is I have the same prompt. I'll put into ChatGPT 4.0, I'll put into Claude 3.5, I'll put into Gemini 1.5 Pro, and see how it renders. And believe it or not, they all render things differently. So from there, well, Claude really gives out some good output, but man, Gemini, they really took care of a lot of things. So then with Gemini, I use that to do certain things. Maybe I'll use Claude to do more content. Maybe I'll do ChatGPT to do some more logistics. That's how, as through fun, you start going to find out that certain places has their pros and cons. And then we just have to figure out how to lean into each pros and cons.
Oh, I like that you already categorize where each one really helps you. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish, and that leads me towards let's put it the way that, okay, now how we take what you do in LumenKai and you now applying it into let's say most serious so because you also apply all these learnings into your let's call it into your job, where you now apply into productivity and that kind of stuff, as we were talking. So how you take the knowledge how you take that knowledge that you're using for fun learning now into let's put it into like be productive, help me achieve tasks, how that works.
Gotcha. So currently I work at a marketing agency called pmpmg.com. From there, I'm a web team lead, and my team consists of content writers, developers, and an SEO person. And within my team, one of the things I wanted to help cultivate is really harnessing the power of AI. And of course, through play, we get to get acclimated to it, and it was the idea of an intention. But how I put this into practice, into a business setting, is as you're playing, you start to notice a certain pattern that's emerging. I noticed that all LLM, they might not give me exactly what I'm looking for, but they do give me a lot of hints. Wait a minute, I can even, even like Gemini is a multimodal LLM. I can upload an image and it can tell me what an image is. So I'll give you one example. So once I've uploaded a PDF to ChatGPT and asked it to summarize it. I'm sorry, this is a story. There was a group chat between me and my girlfriend and her friends and sister. It was like 69 chat messages. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna read all this. So I copied all that, put it to ChatGPT and asked it to summarize it. I'm like, wow, it did that. I took some screenshots. So like, if it can do that, for one day, we were doing some healthcare analysis. So I just uploaded 2 PDF into ChatGPT, help me summarize it, and then can you create an Excel table comparing these 2 healthcare chart, and then create another tab summarizing each one. Through play, I found that these LLM can do that. So at work, I start putting these play elements into work, and that is how one can, as we talked about early on, the transferable skill sets. In this case, transferring from play to productivity. And so with my team at PNP, I really encourage them to use different LLMs. Just like a chef will have multi utensils, multi knife, and a woodworker will have multiple different kind of hammers. Have multiple different LLMs. So right now they're using a lot of Claude 3.5. Next month or next 2 months from now, I want them to use more Gemini. That way, when the content team is using those tools, they're going to start seeing how each LLM produces a different result. And as a curator, we put all these things together and then create one piece. Developers, the same thing. Use different LLMs to address your bugs and your console logs, what have you, and see which one produces the best code and the best result that's to your liking, and then start augmenting that to increase your productivity.
So that's super interesting because and by the way, we at Quenby also use a lot of AIs and we play with them all the time. Maybe not up to your level, so we might need to have some consultation here because we don't use it as much as we wanted to do. Maybe because to your point, we might not be super into like which one can we use for what and that kind of stuff. But in terms of like of the outcome, the impact, what been the impact that you've seen by adopting all these LLMs and in different areas?
So I think what AI produces time. We're able to gain time using AI tools. And by gaining time, we're able to put our attention into the places where it needs to be put attention to. So some of the stuff that we've gained using AI tools is time saving. It really is. So for instance, I'll give you one example. We were doing a lot of social media posting, and then I noticed that it took some time to make those social media posts, hashtag and everything. So we created a small custom chatbot that would post to these different networks. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just test it out. What started out as fun too, like, all right, let's make some chatbot, but also addressing a business need. What we've started noticing as a team is the amount of time that's been saved. Now, we're not talking about like 10, 15 minutes here. What used to take 40 minutes, now you can do it in 2 minutes. There's no way a human can type that fast to get your productivity. That's not possible. I'll give you one example. And this is something I was recently talking to someone about this. It's that you can walk 10 miles to do an errand, or you can drive a car. The question you want to ask, the question that you have to ask is not what's better, walking or driving, is how much time do you have? If you don't have enough time, you probably just drive there. The same thing is AI. And this is really the one of the mottos at our team is that, I want people to work efficiently within the time frame that they have, 40 hours a week. So that's the time that you have. So let's really get a lot of stuff done in this 40 hours amount of time. So what can we do to increase our time? So that way we can pay attention to what really needs to be paid attention to. So understanding one's time and value then your mind starts shifting into, all right, let's engineer some solutions, let's find some tools in order to save time so we can all go home on time to our loved ones, which is the highest value in life.
I agree.
Yes. It's
I,
a mind.
I, yeah, we talked about this, and that was a point that really resonated with me when we were chatting, like how much value we put into being efficient during our time at the, and let's call it work, but let's put it whatever task you're doing, because it could be, like you said, even for fun, right? So even if you have fun, I'm sure that you have a time set, right, that you want to do that fun and you want to accomplish it. So basically what I'm getting out of this is like, if we use AI towards our own productivity, everything else that we want to do will be on time, because we wouldn't have to be worried about, oh, I need to get this done, oh, I need to get that done, because it's going to be done. However, I have a question, because I want to get your thoughts on this, and we briefly talked about this. So what is the I would say the reasonable amount of time that AI should give us for us to consider this? If I put the question the other way around, like, is saving 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, what could be a good amount of time that we can say this is worth it for us to use AI versus not?
That's a challenging question to answer, because there's so much variables and factors to be considered. But I'll put it this way. Recently, we were thinking about at work how to make certain team members' life easy. And one of the things during the mid-management meeting that we had with some web services is, all right, well, let's create a solution. So let's create an automated solution. They stop doing all this stuff. So we created an automation. In this case, when someone calls a certain phone number, and then rather than it going to another website and being stored there, we created an automation using AIs helping doing the API calls. All that call will be now recorded on Google spreadsheet. Now that object data is now plainly spread out, like first name, last name, caller ID, states, phone number, where they're calling, did the call get answered, did that call answered. That in itself was such a time saver. And then we noticed that people liked seeing that, so we cultivated it. So now it takes about 4 minutes to create that automation for any new request. That is an incredible amount of time saved. So, but on the big picture, one of the philosophies that I share with my team is, rather than AI trying to save you 50, 60, 70% of your time, if it can save even 5% of your time, that's a win. Because if you can do it 10 times, that's 50%. That's a humongous win. But if you're trying to make one automation or AI save you 70% of the time, how much time do you need to put into that one? But just do a little bit, multiple times, and then multiple iterations start saving time. So that is how I see it. If it can save even 2 to 3%, that's a win. Now find a way to do that 10 more times, that's a gain.
I see. That goes back to the good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough all the time.
Yeah.
Repeat it. Go back and repeat it. Oh,
Yes.
That's awesome. Man, question. And this is kind of maybe the second part of the title, which we never got into. What's the future? What's going on? What's gonna happen? What's the why? And why in the title we bring society into it?
You mean the future of AI? You mean, like, how do I imagine? So
Yeah.
I think that this is my personal guess. And of course, this doesn't mean it's going to happen, but my personal guess. I think to imagine the future, we have to look at the past. And that would give us a good indicator of how the future would go. Let's think about the past for a little bit. Like back in the 1980s, to travel to different places. I just gave away my age. You have to call a travel agent, and that travel agent, you book a ticket. Now, with the advent of internet and everything, we can just do it now. It's usually through a browser. As a matter of fact, we can just do it on our phone now. Download an app and just do it. That's an incredible amount of ways. We never thought about that before. Or imagine the telephone. Right now, we could just pick, although this is my battery pack, you can just pick up a phone and call someone. Before, you had to call an operator, a switchboard, and they had to do all these things to get you connected. That was at one point a really big industry, but not just completely gone away. The future is, how I think about the future is what we think is hard now will be accessible down the road. As a matter of fact, even water. I mean, water wasn't available for people for the longest time easily. You had to be living near a riverbank or something, or have an aqueduct. Or even if you did have an aqueduct, you had to be a certain social status to have access to that water. Now, a lot of people can have easily access to it. So the future of AI, this is what I think. I think like UX UI, what we think visually will slowly go away. It'll be all augmented with voice. As a matter of fact, when I'm driving, I talk to ChatGPT 4o quite a bit. I once said, I was driving to Sarasota once, and I made a whole program driving. By the time I parked my car in Sarasota, a general framework script was made on JavaScript. I just talked to ChatGPT while I was driving. I think the future will be more voice augmented. Keyboard, these will be a thing of the past, just like rotary phones, and everything will be all voice and talk. And I think a lot of and with AI infused with blockchain, I can totally see later on we take a photograph and put our photograph, register into blockchain using AI, and then register our photograph that way. So I think it'll be more voice related. So even how we search right now, we're using Google search to search a lot of things. I use Perplexity now a lot, where I'm asking more complex queries. So I think that is the future. Just more natural language, just talking.
I'm taking one quote here. What's hard now will be accessible later. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. We're quoting you. No, I love it because it is true, and I truly believe on that as well. Like I say, I might not be on the same pace like you on using AI, but I've been using AI quite often, and what you're saying is totally true. AI is gonna make accessible a lot of things, and I know that a lot of people have these fears about jobs and everything, but to be honest, it's more what you, to your point, it's evolution. Those operators that were shifting the connections now became operators of something else. So it's not like about giving away, it's just making accessible and creating other opportunities. Like, for example, I think you mentioned once, like becoming more like prompters and understanding how to interact with the tool will become even more valuable.
And Angel, there's something that I want to add that I think a lot of people are asking about AI taking over our job. If I may just kind of branch off just for a little bit on that one.
Please.
One of my comments is, it's not AI going to take over your job, it's IA. Inability to adapt. That will take over your job. And let's think about it this way. Right now, if you go to every job, people are using word processor, computers, and browser to do it. I remember back in the 2000s, people used to put Netscape or Internet Explorer as a skill set. But now it's so inundated that, we don't even mention it. Because we've all adapted to that workflow, to that basic default tool set. AI will not take over a job. I really don't think so. AI was going to create a new job. Any technology advancements will diminish certain current jobs. Just like phone operators or travel agents. But those AI is going to help redefine what a job is, which is more down the road, but it's going to redefine our role. Just like, for instance, our content team at PNP. They're not just learning how to write better. They're actually learning a little bit more about the web, some technical dev things. Dev team, one of the things I mentioned with dev team is in your mockup, no more lorem ipsum. In the age of AI, you could just type in a few keywords about the client and generate a blurb. The age of lorem ipsum is done. So they're learning a little bit more about copywriting in a small scale, but in the future, it's all about learning new skill sets and blending skill sets in, as AI is going to do a lot of heavy lifting. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're scared about AI taking over your job, it is not. It is really about inability to adapt. If one's adapt and change the mental framework that one has, see this as a tool, a time-saving tool, it would be amazing. And I really just want to add is that the previous paradigm in work is that you work 40, 60 hours a week. That's a hard work, a good job, good job. I think if you're working a lot of hours, either you're doing something wrong or the system is wrong. Learn to harness these powers and these tools. Understand what your value in life is and really manage one's time. If that's the case, if you lean into your value, this AI is an amazing tool that's going to help you get closer to this value, which is spending time with your friends and family or loved ones. And that's my truest belief. AI, in my opinion, is going to open up more about humanity. It's going to allow us to elevate our humanity by expressing ourselves in creative ways. I know I'm going on a tangent, but even when I was driving to Sarasota, the framework, ChatGPT was able to create the functions that I'm looking for in the framework, but I still had to go into the CSS and apply that myself. No AI can do that right now. That's really well done. That's where my humanity and my creative expression is at.
No, I don't think you went out of the shot or out of the tent, because I think that's what they answered the question about the future of the technology and how it impacts society, because you just describe it in the best way possible. Like, we're gonna enhance society, but we still need to adapt. So I do agree with you about like inability to adapt. Everyone has to adapt, because this AI is not new. It's not the first wave. It's not gonna be the last. In 50 years, whatever, it's gonna be something else, and we will have to adapt as well. That's what humans do across along all the history of humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it always happened. I mean, even like put ourselves in the shoes, like let's say about 100 years ago in the 1924. I mean, electricity was coming out. These brothers from Dayton, Ohio, started flying a few years before. World War I is about to. I mean, of course it happened, but the idea is that 100 years ago the world looked very different, and they were faced with very new technology advancements that they just haven't heard of before. We're now in the same precipice too, where we have to learn to adapt and change with the tools, or the change would just overshadow us. But it's a great time to be alive. I mean, these AI tools and the stuff that we can do with the AI tools, I mean, even with Sono making music right away, or using Dreamscape to make all these images and music just for a simple prompt. I mean, wow. It's quite amazing. And just having fun with it and just making something very simple, nothing perfect, it's an eye-opening change. It really is. And I think anyone going into the industry or in the industry or want to just elevate themselves, this is the perfect time. We should be all grateful to be alive and able to see the early stages of this tool. I mean, wow, it's great. It's just great.
I know you're super excited, because I definitely can see that in everything that you do, and this is the perfect time.
Yes.
To get into the fireside chat.
Oh my goodness.
So here it is. I have 5 questions.
Okay.
we can make it fun. It doesn't have to be all serious. So maybe if the back in the back we can put it ourselves side to side in the same scale. There you go. Awesome.
All right, here we go.
That's our AI. I'm just kidding. That's the amazing team that we have in the back end. They're helping us out to get this to it. So thank you. So I'm gonna put the question back one by one, and you can answer however you want. So here goes the first one. All right. So first question. You're stranded on the desert island with only your coding skills and a solar-powered laptop. What is this first app you built besides a rescue beacon, of course? What would be?
That's a very interesting question. You know, if I was in this situation, rather than building an app, I would use, let's say that we have AI, and then I can use AI to do it. I ask the AI, how can I revert the solar power, take apart the computer a little bit, rewire the wires so I can make a lighter, so I can make fire. That's what I would do. Yeah, it's how to make fire so I can catch some fish and eat something because I'll be hungry by then.
There you go. So you're gonna use AI to solve an issue that we had a long time ago, getting fire.
Yeah, and then that question will be called Prometheus. Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, next one. So the next one is, if MERN and LAMP, by the way, for those that may not know what it is two types of stacks. One is MERN and LAMP. One is based on I believe it's Apache. Forgot the other one, and PHP. The other one is on Node.js. So if MERN and LAMP were stacks, were superheroes, what would their superpowers be, and who will win in a coding showdown? And I'm taking notes.
All right. This is a very good one because I started out as LAMP stack, and then eventually MERN, but kind of went back into LAMP right now. So when I think of MERN stack, I think of power and flexibility and speed. When I think of LAMP stack, I think of like stability and security. So how I see this is like MERN stack. Imagine two kung fu artists, and MERN stack is all about speed and like fast punch and agility, whereas LAMP stack is more about power punches and power kicks. Who will win? It's a who knows, but I think like one is all about speed and flexibility, one is about security and stability. So let's see, let's do them out. You know what? This might be the perfect app to create if I'm on a desert island. Create an arcade game, MERN stack and LAMP stack, and play an arcade game so I can occupy my time.
Or we can ask ChatGPT if he can create something and with those superpowers and see who will win.
Yeah,
that's the way I decide, not us.
Yeah, we should try that. Yeah, but that's a really good question.
The third one. You've just been given unlimited funding. Awesome. For a passion project, describe your dream application. No limits. Whatever you want.
All right. So this one,
deep pockets, man.
All right. So this one will be a very simple application. Something that I like to create would be, imagine like an application where what I want to do is someone from this country or any country at a certain age in their life could submit an application and able to serve in a different country or a different economic status from what they're used to. And the goal is to bring back what they've learned and apply the lessons here. That way, like for instance, like imagine serving yourself at a also I don't like using this term, but let's say a third world country for ease of understanding. You go there, you understand the struggles, you understand, but the happiness that they have, bring it back here, you adapt their skills. Or you go to a different social economic environment and see the same thing, what their struggle is, but what their happiness is, and see what we can learn, and that way we can all help each other out. That is something I would create there was no.
That's amazing. I love it. And then well, there you go. So you got a limited pocket, man. Now you have one. No, but I love that idea. It's a very interesting one. Definitely got me thinking on that one. So next one, a client wants a website that is modern, of course, but with a touch of a steampunk. What's your first move?
Oh man, what's my first move? My first move is to put all this into generative AI, make a video, make a trailer, and not a website, but present them as an idea. So, make a video about steampunk and like the modern version of steampunk, put it on YouTube. This is a video that we've created. Do you align with the vision and what's been curated? If they get excited, what are you excited about? And let's Rogue One this. What I mean by Rogue One is this. We all know the movie Rogue One. It's based on the on the original movie. It says, a bunch of rebels had stole the plan. They got the one line and they made a whole movie out of it. They extrapolated one line. So that's what I like to call the Rogue One effect. You get something small, you just extrapolate it. So that's what I will do is make a movie, get someone excited first, and then Rogue One it and see which part you can take out and extrapolate, and let's go from there. But at the end, that's another thing too. It's crazy about Gen AI is that now we can do this. Before, even the idea of doing this took productions and a lot of people and time and energy, but now a few handful of people can get together, or even one, could make an idea, because at the end, is it really the website that they want, or do they want to get excited about their idea? If we can ignite their excitement.
I agree with you. It's get them excited, what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And the last one, fast forward 2043, what's the coolest way Gen AI is being used in web development?
I see. So 2020, that's about about 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay. 19 years. Okay. I think by then, what's going to happen is, I truly believe everyone's going to have an AI assistant, and then everyone going to have a little phone or whatever tethered, or maybe even surgically implanted to their ears. And then rather than typing, we're going to be just talking. And we won't be even talking codes at this point. We'll be like, create something for me where you can loop it. Can you make sure you put all that together? Everyone is going to become like a Lego master. And the Lego pieces are being built by AI. If this sounds like a crazy idea, think about it this way. About 60 years ago, people didn't have power steerings or didn't have all the convenience as we have in the car. But now we don't even turn the keys in. We'll just push a button and it does all these things for us. So if we can imagine that future, if you can imagine that, imagine what the future will be. So I think that's what, I think down the road, web development will change. I think that would be more of a common thing rather than what it is right now, because everyone will have the ability to build.
Can I add a twist on this?
Of course.
Are we even gonna have web development in 2043?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think everything will be so well. Now there will be engineers. There will always be engineers. Just like we could live in a current society, we need civil engineers, we need electrical engineers. We'll always need digital web engineers. But web development, how we know it now, will be very different, because everyone will have access to these tools. And I'll give you one more example. Let's say, for instance, when phones start coming out with cameras that's high resolution, photographers saw this going to take away the job and everything. That's another story. But what has happened is that in order to take photographs, you had to learn f-stop, you have to learn ISOs and shutter speed and how all this works and everything. Now you just point your camera somewhere and just click, and then it'll just do a lot of these things for you. I do computational photography where the processing is later done, not before as the traditional was. And I think with the advent, if we're to even look at that as like an example, web development is really no different. But engineers will always exist.
Oh yeah.
But how we go about it will be very different. Yeah, I don't think it will exist. I think it'll be a different label. But how about on a closing note, I don't think it'll exist the way we know it now. Let's put it that way. It'll be a different form.
I agree. And I'm sure that you and I can stay here for hours because we've done it already, so it's not new. We've done it. And I know that we have some limited time right now, but I have one final question for you.
Yes.
And this one is, for me, is the question that makes the whole thing. Because talking about Gen AI and everything, it's something that we like to do is always make humanize technology, and especially humanize the person that is here with us today. In this case, it's you. And the way that we do it is like, if you would like to share a story, an anecdote that happens to your life that shapes the Jiho of today and how that impacted in your life, so people can learn from your experience and also see maybe at some point some people are went through the same thing or were in the same situation. What would be that anecdote, like the story that you can share with us?
Gotcha. Well, one thing I like to share is that really believe that you can achieve whatever that you want. I really believe that, but belief has to be accompanied by a hard work and consistent and repetitive over and over and over and over again. If you combine those three things, I think one can really, she or they can achieve whatever they want. I'll use my life as an example. Like once after my development years of 9 years, I wanted to kind of do some other things, and I learned about project management. And I only had like 2 months experience of it. I was filling in someone's spot. That person got pregnant. And during that time, after that 2 months, later on, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try for this project management job. And I've never had a project. I don't have a project management degree, nothing. I just had a simple belief that I can do this well because I can translate complex ideas to normal people. And I applied for a lot of jobs, and I got shut down quite a bit. And I applied for this one job, and I said in the bottom of my cover letter, I said, I am the best decision you ever made. Because I really did believe in that. I really did. I am the best decision you have not made yet. And that changed my career for 7 years. Worked in FinTech, FinPub after that. Another one is that when I was getting into this job, like we're going back to the original, I was just an artist, and I went to a job interview with my artist slide. For web design, I went with my painting and ceramics. And the first guy thought I was crazy. He's like, what is this joke? Who's this jokester? But this guy named Lance, we had a conversation just like I'm having with you, Angel. He saw something in me, and then he gave me a chance, which changed the rest of my life. So really go into things with sure belief that you can do it, but make sure you check in your vision with other people too, because if not, you can fall into a rabbit hole of delusion, which that is another dangerous area you don't want to be in. So make sure you have a strong belief, you work at it, check in with other people, align with people who you align your belief with, but also make sure to check in with some counter ideas. Balance it. You have to have multiple ideas balancing each other out. You can't just have one idea, because that is what you call a delusional mindset. Always have that. Believe in yourself, work hard at it, do it over and over and over again. And last but not least, man, have fun. Have fun doing it, because you are here for a reason. Being alive is a mathematical miracle. So, and all of us, myself included, we're all here to help elevate everyone together as a community, as a team, because at the end, AI development, all this wouldn't matter if there's no sense of humanity.
That's the perfect closing. I will leave it there. I will gonna leave all your details on the description so everyone can follow you, follow Blumenkai, see what you're doing there, and have fun watching what you're doing, and why not trying as well what you're doing so they can learn.
Yes.
Jiho,
Always.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, my friend. It's always great having a chat with you.
Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you found this podcast episode informative, engaging, and entertaining. We can't wait for you to join us again for our next episode. Until then, keep exploring, learning, and making extraordinary things happen.